he's been in communication with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson posted on social media last night, the two of them having a conversation. He makes returning to Baltimore that much more attractive. No, he does not mean that they're going to pay Lamar Jackson extra money, but he does make the job that much more interesting for Lamar Jackson. Also on a one-year deal. So if and when he leaves after this year, the Ravens could get a compensatory draft pick back for Odell Beckham Jr. And then, of course, you're signing one of the most popular athletes, I think, not just in football, but in the world. He becomes an iconic brand, and that's not why you make moves, but that's just another reason to bring in a player as popular as Odell Beckham Jr. There's some of the thinking, and of course, Odell Beckham Jr. was going to visit the Jets today, but obviously was interested in Baltimore, the money they paid, and canceled the Jets visit, and he's hoping to be able to play with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
Yeah, we'll check in on the Aaron Rodgers and Jets side of all this a little bit later. Thanks to Adam. He's with us all show. Last night, Odell Beckham Jr. and Lamar Jackson shared their FaceTime images on social media, as Adam referenced, bringing plenty of hope, okay, to Baltimore fans. The new Ravens wideout has not played since tearing his ACL in Super Bowl 56. Prior to that, he struggled to produce with the Rams during the regular season, but flipped the switch in the playoffs. He more than doubled his yards per route run, significantly increased his catch rate, while also creating over a yard more of separation on his targets. We've talked about this so many times, but in that Super Bowl, you felt like if he could have remained healthy, he could have been the MVP, potentially even of that game. Marcus, what do you think about this move, OBJ to the Ravens?
Y'all, we did. We went to Las Vegas for the Pro Bowl, and we spent a lot of time there leading into the Super Bowl. And what I should have done was stop a couple of times in that lobby and put some money on them blackjack tables or something so I could have a good time. But the Ravens have more juice than I have because they put their money on the blackjack table and they put a lot of it on there because you either crazy or you a genius. Either way is risky, and that's what gambling is. But if this turns out that Odell Beckham Jr. stays healthy and has a really good season, and this move created an avenue or a lane in order for you to get Lamar Jackson back, this is one of the biggest moves that we've seen in the league in a minute. If all of those things come together and they have the type of success that everybody anticipates if Lamar Jackson is playing quarterback. I love the Ravens sticking their neck out and doing this. OBJ got $15 million guaranteed in this situation, and it's a window into Lamar Jackson because I don't take those tweets as something small and him showing pictures of those guys having a good time about OBJ signing.
Swag, you must have a doppelganger because I thought that was you putting that money on the blackjack table, but that's a different story.
I'm everywhere, Boogie. I'm everywhere.
Okay.
I'm
yeah,
everywhere.
All right. Nina, does this actually change things with Lamar?
Well, it certainly feels a lot more likely today than it did a couple of days ago that he's going to be a Raven this season, emphasis on this season. Not necessarily because OBJ signed. I think the money is probably a big part of the reason why he's in Baltimore. But as Marcus alluded to, this is the most engaged with the franchise that we have seen this quarterback in months. As a fan, like this is the first sign you've heard from him that he might be a Raven next year. The fact that he's talking to the wide receiver they just signed. So that's great, but the larger question looms, which is, can this relationship be healed? Can a long-term deal even be on the table? And I think, Laura, that's a confusing question because it depends on an unknown, which is whether Lamar Jackson's trade request, his desire to move on, was solely motivated by money, wanting all those guarantees, or if it mattered to him that the Ravens didn't invest much in the offense in terms of skill players during his tenure there. Because if that didn't matter to him, I could see a move like this, as well as the hiring of Todd Monken, going some way towards making this relationship better, because it does show you, it shows Lamar that Baltimore is trying to make the offense better.
100% agree, MK. And think about it from this angle, too, because this is something else I thought about. Why would the Ravens invest that much money off of a wide receiver coming off of 2 ACLs if they had no plan at quarterback? Like, there has to be something that's telling the Ravens that they'll at least have someone to put them in contention or have a successful offense under a new offense coordinator. That's a lot of money to give the Odell Beckham Jr. with zero plan at quarterback. So it blew my mind in that regard as well when I looked at it from that angle.
Well, They're going to have somebody play quarterback, Marcus. And just think about this. Since we heard Lamar Jackson's trade request in early March, to the best of our knowledge, there hasn't been a team that has been willing to sign him to an offer sheet. The market has not been as robust as many people thought it would be. And there has been communication with Odell Beckham Jr., who now has reached agreement with the Baltimore Ravens. So there are a whole host of factors that you have to think have Lamar seeing the Ravens in a little bit of a different mindset today than he might have over a month ago when he initially submitted that trade request before free agency began, before he had the opportunity to speak with other teams, before Odell Beckham Jr. became a Raven. And so that's what happens during the offseason. The dynamics are constantly shifting. And where they're shifting today makes it more likely that Lamar Jackson's going to be in Baltimore than he's going to be elsewhere, though this story still has to play itself out.
Listen, I know that OBJ is a smart businessman. He's looking at the market. He's saying, I want to make as much money as possible. But I just don't see how he signs this deal, how he decides to go with the Ravens, unless he feels at least somewhat confident, and probably more than that, right, yes, that Lamar Jackson is the quarterback there.
He did the Baker Mayfield experience.
Right. He's like, I'm good
the Baker
there.
Mayfield experience.
Fania, you've got a lot to tell us here about why this comeback is really unique, the recovery as well. So take it away.
Well, you know, Laura, I think people have become used to ACL injuries and recoveries, ACL reconstruction. We hear it all the time. We see players come back all the time. But the fact is, what Odell had was a second ACL surgery on the same knee. We call that a revision ACL. And it's different because it takes longer to recover. It's typically a more difficult recovery. You can't progress it as quickly because when you have that injury twice, there's hypothetically more damage inside the knee. And guess what? We've never seen an elite wide receiver return to form after this type of injury. But
give me the but.
But there's reason for optimism here. Yeah. And let me tell you why. We got a great picture here looking inside the knee. So you see the ACL on the diagram there. And the ideal graft when you have to repair a torn ACL comes from the bone, tendon, and bone of the patellar tendon. A lot of times when you have a second surgery, that might not be available, especially if you had an injury on the other side. In Odell's case, it was available on his opposite knee. So he's got the best kind of graft in there. Second, he did not have significant cartilage damage. When you have two injuries like this, you worry about this inside lining of the knee, damage to the cartilage. That can impair your future. I've been told that he had a good-looking knee on the inside, so his recovery was allowed to progress at the rate of a typical primary ACL recovery.
Wow.
Couple that with the fact that he had a whole year off from football, so he's got fresh legs, and a solid graft. And I think you're looking at potential for him to actually return to the level of receiver that we saw before.
I understand I'm simplifying this here. It almost feels as though with the structure of the knee that he didn't have the second ACL tear. It's almost as if it's only one, and then there was a whole lot of time to recover from that. I know I oversimplified, but still, that's the confidence level here.
Yeah, and consider, you know, I spoke with a surgeon, Dr. Neil Elatrash, who is also the Rams team physician, who had the ability to watch him with the Rams and really knows this guy. And he said he's going to be a monster this year.
Okay, there we go. You heard it here first. Thanks to Stefania Bell. So glad you're with us on NFL Live. This is the news today. Odell Beckham Jr. officially a Raven. So what's he bringing to Baltimore in terms of versatility? Mina, start us off.
Yeah, one of my favorite attributes of OBJ's when he's healthy is his ability to create when he has the ball in his hands. Since 2019, the Ravens ranked dead last in the NFL in yards after the catch. My hope is that OBJ can change that, because if he is healthy, when he gets the football, he is able to do miraculous things on the field with his vision, his explosiveness, and his shiftiness. He is an incredible wide receiver with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, MK, and going right off of that, the ability to separate. I don't have any 2019 stats, but I do have my eyes. And you talk about his precise ability to run routes, his ability to create separation when he sticks his foot in the ground, which sometimes you get concerned with the ACLs, obviously with his hard cutting. But he has been creating separation at a high rate since he stepped into this league. And there's an offense that needs this more than anybody. It's the Baltimore Ravens when you're trying to evolve a passing game.
I mean, the Ravens need everything at the wide receiver position, but I'm excited to see OBJ get back on the field as a deep threat, something this offense really needs. If Rashad Bateman is back, he had 15 catches last year. He only has 3 touchdowns in his career, but he's more of a possession-style underneath receiver. My hope is that OBJ can stretch the field, soften things up for Mark Andrews on the underneath, and give Lamar Jackson that home run hitter at wide receiver that they've really never had in his NFL career.
Yeah, and if you're sitting at home saying, yeah, but he tore his ACL twice and all that jazz, we hear you. We had Stefania Bell, our injury analyst, on earlier in the show. If you missed it, she talked about how structurally sound that ACL actually is and how many in the medical field expect OBJ to return to his form as a wide receiver. We'll keep an eye on it, but the medical opinion is that he'll be just like he was before, which is pretty amazing. Over the last 3 seasons, by the way, the Ravens have struggled to get production from the wide receiver position. Over that span, Baltimore's wideouts rank last in receptions, receiving yards, and first downs. In fact, they've recorded more than 50 fewer first down receptions than any other team in the NFL. Mina, it's no secret that on this show we've been at times maddened by the Ravens offense and the scheme. We haven't seen this new offense with their new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, just yet. What do you anticipate?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the addition of OBJ. I would argue that the change to Todd Monken as offensive coordinator will probably have a bigger impact on this offense. We've only seen Lamar play with Greg Roman. So Monken, when he was with the NFL, with the Bucs, that was a very pass-heavy attack with Jameis Winston. I actually think there'll be a lot more to learn from what he did at Georgia in terms of the use of multiple tight ends. We saw him develop a designed run game. Stetson Bennett, very different from Lamar Jackson, obviously. But the most important thing he did there, and I think the thing that matters the most for Baltimore, is how he integrated the run and the pass. When you watch Georgia football, everything looked the same. And with the pass catchers, there was an attention to detail that's really been missing with the Ravens. This Ravens offense, with Lamar Jackson as the dual threat, should have the most explosive play-action passing attack in the NFL, especially if Odell Beckham Jr. and Rashad Bateman are healthy. So my hope is that they are healthy and that if Lamar Jackson is the quarterback, Todd Monken can elevate a passing game that's really been lacking for a couple of years now.
Mina, I'm rocking like the old people do because you preaching that good word right now. Listen, here's the other thing that I'm excited about as well. Like you got Odell Beckham Jr. and obviously health. Rashad Bateman health, and Mina, I think Bateman gets a bad rep. When dude on the field, he productive. It's just him keeping him on the field, having the opportunity to make. But the thing that relates is that Todd Monken comes from an offense where the tight end was his best offensive weapon at Georgia. Now he steps in with Mark Andrews, and how he uses Mark Andrews in this offense as well, who had a high rate, obviously, of targets because he was the guy that everyone trusted in the passing game, and you talked about the play action as well. The exciting part about this is that now you have 3 legitimate playmakers that will uncover areas for each other if they all can be on the field at one time. And that has to be a proposition that Lamar Jackson is very excited about, and even this Ravens fan base. And you don't have to lose your physical identity of running the football when you want to with these guys, which is the point you made about the play action. I'm excited to see what Todd Monken does, but he absolutely has guys that can be game breakers in that type of offense.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.